Hey there, Sean Bailey, the Sales Funnel Nerd. Welcome to this lesson. Today we're going to talk about how to structure your webinar. And I'm going to give you kind of an overview here of how you can set up a webinar. So here's a basic overview of a webinar structure that I've used many times, and it works really great as far as just how to organize and present all your material, right? So we'll go through it here. The first thing you want to do is kind of welcome everyone, thank them for taking the time to join you on the webinar, right? Acknowledge that their time is valuable and they're taking their time, taking time out of their day to be on this webinar with you. Next thing that works well is to tell them that they're in the right place. If you're looking for this, you're in the right place. If you want to learn this, you're in the right place. If this is what you're looking for, good news, because you're going to get it here with this webinar presentation today, right? Next thing is kind of like a story. I try to keep it. Lots of people go on the story and tell like a very long story. I keep mine, 10 minutes or so as far as, telling the story of how I got where I'm at, why I'm putting on this webinar. Stories are important because it does let people get to know who you are, that you are actually a human being, that they can bond with you. You're not just some faceless machine trying to squeeze money out of them. The story part is important, but this is why once you get a few webinars in and practice it, then you'll understand as far as how much time to dedicate to your story and kind of, refining it and making it yours. So the story part, it is important. Make sure you do it. It's important to do it early and get into it and just, have a good hard-hitting story, emotional, that people can bond with to get them to, just kind of settle in and just go with the rest of the webinar. Right? So after the story is done, after about 10 minutes of that, then we move on to the teaching. So the meat, this is it. This is where you're given the good stuff here, right? So I like to structure mine with 3 secrets. Now, these are the top 3 challenges that people need to overcome in order to get to their desired result, right? Like with a sales funnel, 3 challenges people need to overcome is, what markets should they go into? What tools should they use? And how do they get a good sales message? How do they, get started if they don't have a product, right? So just kind of sit down and come up with the top 3 challenges that people have when it comes to a result, or it could be 5 things, but whatever it is, it's as long as it's your own and you're teaching like something extremely valuable that people could actually take and kind of go and apply and use from that webinar, that's what you want to go with. You want them to be so amazed, so like, wow, if this guy's teaching and giving this away, what is his paid stuff like? That's what you essentially want people to think with your teachings on the webinar there. And yeah, don't be afraid to give away the best that you got. When you think like, man, I shouldn't be giving this away, that's okay. You totally should. Trust me, it is worth it. People want to know what if this is what you're giving away, what kind of stuff can we expect if they invest some money with you. After that, after the teaching's over, then there's usually some type of transition. So the transition is where you essentially go, I hope who feels like they got a ton out of this, who thinks that they've got something they can take and use, and people usually type in and say, give you some feedback, and that's great. And then, you can just say, if it's okay with you, if I have your permission, you can even ask for their permission. That's a great way to transition. I've seen it done like that before. If, with your permission, I'm gonna sit here until people type in and say that it's okay to show them some more stuff. I have some additional information for them, for those who want to, go farther with what I've talked about. Right? So, people aren't, completely clueless. They understand there's going to be probably some type of pitch, but they're going to want to be pitched to because you just gave them some awesome stuff. So, a lot of people will drop off the webinar and may not sit around for that. But if you do your transition right, a lot of people will. And then from there, it's just essentially close. Like, hey, here's what I got. Here's an offer. Here's a link to go to it, or go type this in, or there'll maybe be a button that appears underneath your webinar, depending how you structure it. But even if you just have a link on the screen on your slide, tell them to go to, www.seanbailey.com/crazy sweet offer. Something like that. And that's it. And then you basically tell them to go to your sales page and buy. And if you do your close right, you should be presenting, an irresistible offer to them. Something that's so great that people are like, yes, this is worth it. And that's the point of webinars, is because you've been on with them for, 60, 90 minutes, depending on how long you structure it. These people have had a long time to sit with you, listen to you, get to know you, bond with you. So that's how you're able to sell, higher ticket items with webinars. So that is a great way for to structure a webinar if you want to pitch people, especially high ticket items. So go ahead and hit it and come up, start planning out your next webinar. And I will see you in the next video.